I'm Jason Klamm, and this is the Comedy on Vinyl podcast. The year is maybe 1969? We're not sure. The album is Hello Seal, It's Me. The artist is Betty Walker, and my guest is Steve Bluestein. Thank you so much for doing the show.
That's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So I love that we were going to talk about Jonathan Winters, and then I kind of made a mistake and had a very bad MP3 that didn't work, and you decided to pick an album that I'd already heard and quite enjoyed. I'm wondering, so is this one of the ones we were talking about that you discovered at a yard sale?
Yes. I don't know if this one was at a yard sale or if it was at Goodwill, but I know I didn't pay more than $1 for it.
Okay. See, and that's kind of the situation I had. I found mine in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Yeah.
I was buying a pile of them because they cost nothing. Mm-hmm. And it turned out to be one I really enjoyed. What do you like about this album so much?
I like that it's 40 years old, and I listened to it before you came today, and I was laughing. Mm-hmm. That's what I like.
Yeah.
She's timeless, especially if you're from back east. Mm-hmm. Then you really understand where she's coming from. But there's one laugh in this cut that is so funny that it's... she says, do we tell the audience who we're talking about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Betty Walker.
Betty Walker,
yep.
Who was a comedian in the 60s. And her modus operandi was that she would come out with a telephone and she would talk to her imaginary friend, Seal.
Yeah.
And she would say, hello, Seal. Seal, did I have a day? Seal, what those? Chickie and Marilyn, put the chicken down. It doesn't need to go for a walk. It's dinner. And that was her whole stick. But she the cut that I was listening to today, it was Seal. You know, the Goppermans, they got the son got married. Wait, I'll tell you. Hold. The next morning after they got married, she got up, she went to work. He got up, he went to work. After work, he went to his mother's. Wait, hold. He forgot he was married. No. She didn't remind him. I listened to that and I almost peed in my pants. I laughed so hard. I mean, it's that kind of stuff. She's just hilarious. Mm-hmm. And she talks to these imaginary children. She has a whole family, and she's always has money problems.
Yeah.
She always has money problems. And I was listening to the album, and she was saying that Sale, I need $342.28. I'm a little overdrawn. Yes, I had a cushion. Of course I. Never mind what. $12. This is just hilarious.
Yeah, there's so much, like, it's hard to, I mean, it's proof because we have so few artists who ever just did a phone bit successfully, you know.
Well, Bob Newhart
yep.
did.
Yeah.
And
Shelley Berman.
Yeah. But
so few.
She was the only woman that did it.
Yeah.
And she did it. And I remember seeing her on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Really?
And just going, who is that? Uh-huh. What is that? You know, and I became a fan, way back. And there is nothing about her. She has disappeared off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
She has passed away. But I called Lou Jacoby, and I called George Slaughter, and I called a bunch of people in New York, Marilyn Michaels, and I called them and I said, tell me what you know about Betty Walker. And to a person, they said, I don't know anything.
Yeah.
It's really, that's why I wanted to write something about her, because because she's such a phenomenon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those. Oh, hello. We had a dog tried to jump on me. Hi, sweetheart. I like these comedy mysteries, but they also drive you crazy because when somebody passes away before the internet, sometimes they're gone.
Yeah,
you know what
they're
I
gone.
mean? And she's great. She did like panel shows and stuff. She's so funny on those.
Oh,
too.
she was a regular on the Sullivan Show and on Steve Allen.
Okay.
I saw her on the Steve Allen Show. And I even called Steve Allen's son, and nobody knows anything.
Nothing.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
Yeah, she died so young, as we were talking about earlier. Only, what, 54?
50, I thought 52.
Yeah, so young.
One of those ages.
Yeah, so very young, but brilliantly funny. She released only the 2 albums. She's on another one, like she's a performer on another one, but only released 2 of her own.
Yeah, she's on You Don't Have to Be Jewish, I think.
Oh, yes, right.
think
There we go. Yeah, I think you're right.
I can't find the keys to my house. And suddenly this stuff comes up in my head that I remember that I don't understand why I remember it, but I do. But she was with Lou Jacoby. She was on You Don't Have to Be Jewish.
That's amazing.
You don't have to be Jewish.
Is there? I got to tell you, I really actually liked watching you perform her bit. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering, like, does that come to you easily, or is it something you've imagined her doing a lot, or are you like channeling watching her perform it too?
Well, I'm a comedian, so I have a comedy mind. It goes in and it stays.
Just
there.
sticks, yeah.
It stays there.
I get it.
I saw her do the routine once when I was 11 years old, and the next day I just was going to neighbors going, hello, Seal. Hello, Seal. Oh, he's
so
driving me crazy. He's sick.
It's so funny because, like, if we talk about it, so the last time we talked about this album, we talked with somebody who had never even heard of Eddie Walker, but she looked in my collection. She's like, that one looks interesting. Send it to me. And so I sent it to her. So I got her first impression out of just thin air. So now, and we get to talk to you about it. And you knew her. You were didn't know her, but you knew of her. You knew her work. You're familiar with her. I'm curious, like, was it just one of those things where you found the album, you remembered her, or had you been thinking about her since?
No, I saw her in the Ed Sullivan Show, and it went in the comedy file.
Stuck there, yeah.
And so when I was at the garage sale, and I found the album, and I went, oh! It was like one of those.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody thought I found like a diamond tiara, but no, but I found it. And there's also a second album, which I own, but I can't find it.
Same stuff, though? Is it the same kind of?
Same, yeah. That's all she did,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And she wrote her own material, and which was, for a woman in the 50s and 60s, that's unheard of. And to make your mark in comedy in those eras was unheard of, and she did it. And that's what makes her so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
You have an impressive collection of comedy albums. It was great watching you flip through the ones that I had never even seen before.
Yeah, thank you.
But you're also on 2 of them.
Yes.
And I'd like to talk about those a little bit, but first, you have a book. You have a book out. Now let's talk about it.
Book out.
Let's talk about it.
It's
It's
called
relevant.
Memoir of a Nobody, and it's available at Barnes and Noble, on Nook, on Amazon, iBooks, eBooks. I'll come to your house and I'll read it to you. And I'm very pleased and surprised and humbled that it was a bestseller in the first week out.
That's great.
And it already has, I think, 16 5-star reviews on.
Perfect.
Yeah, and it's a mix of what it's about is I talk about all the people I opened for, like Donna Summer and Barry Manilow and Melissa Manchester and Kenny Loggins and Frankie Valli, and I talk about all the stuff that went on backstage. And as I was writing, things would come up that would remind me of something that happened in my childhood, and I would start talking about that stuff. And it suddenly, the book became like a comedy self-help book. And so people are telling me that they're laughing, and they're crying, and that's the best review I could get. Because
Of course.
I
Yeah.
wasn't trying to do that, but the fact that people are reacting that way is wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much of it? Do the comedy albums that you're in come up at all? I'm curious.
I don't. that is a whole segment that I left out because I was mainly focusing on the live performances because the live performances for me were so indelibly sketched into my memory. Whereas I was on an album called Out of the Closet. And the only thing I remember about that is that someone in the audience was near a mic stand. And every time they would laugh, they would kick the mic stand.
Oh, shit.
So you hear through the album a thump all through the album.
God.
Thump all through the album. And it was done at a time when they couldn't remove that.
Right.
And Bruce Valanche was on that album. And I can't remember anyone else. But as I'm sitting here, I can picture the studio in my head. And I can remember the bit that I did. But it wasn't as those memories weren't as vivid as the live performances. So Memoir of a Nobody is filled with those kind of stories. And I'm going to be on a book tour starting in September.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's great.
That's awesome.
I have a publisher now, and it's great. It's great.
But the thing, what's crazy to me is I'm now trying to imagine some of the other stories in it. I have not finished the book, and I apologize for that. But I'm trying to imagine because it's the most thankless job in comedy, opening for anything, even another comedian, but opening for a musical act.
Well, it can be like the audiences for Manilow were really loving and supportive.
Okay.
He wasn't. Kenny Loggins, the audiences were a nightmare for the most part, but he was wonderful, And there was one show in Lake Tahoe, and it was the employee show, and all week long, it was on Sunday night. All week long, I heard, "Oh, we're gonna do the employee show. And it's gonna be so much fun." And I had heard about Liza Minnelli's employee show in Vegas and how everybody who was anybody in Vegas came to it.
Sure.
So I was looking forward to it, and Sunday night the audience, and you can always tell what an audience is going to be like by the murmur prior to the show. And this was like a jet engine. They were like. And so the lights came down, the crowd started screaming, and they said, "Ladies and gentlemen, the Sahara is proud to present Kenny Loggins." Just the roof came on with the comedy of boo, boo. And I got out on stage, and they were throwing stuff on the bottles were being thrown up on the stage, and they weren't listening, and at one point, this girl climbed up on the apron, and she crawled up to me and then behind me, and while I'm on stage, she said, "Get out of my way." And I looked down at her and I said, "You're not invisible. They can all see you." And the police came and dragged her off the stage, and I stood there and said, "Well, that's 19 minutes," and I got off stage, and the stage manager was there, and he said to me, "Congratulations, you just did 7 minutes."
Oh, God.
Well, it felt like 19 to me.
Holy crap. Wow. What is it? Because anybody can get real arty about their stand-up. Do you kind of, what's your feeling about your own work as a stand-up when you have to deal with that kind of crap?
Oh, I hate it.
Yeah.
I basically retired from stand-up just for that kind. I was on the road for almost 30 years.
Sure.
So it was tough. And, and I started in the big rooms. I was at the Comedy Store, and I got the phone call, "You're opening at the Sahara the next night." So I went from the Comedy Store to the Sahara. And then I became a staple in Las Vegas, and I worked at Caesar's Palace and the Sands and the Hacienda and the MGM Grand and all those big hotels. And then what happened was the economy turned, and they were no longer using opening acts. They were using co-headliners. So Joan Rivers would work with Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
Or the Smothers Brothers would work with Joan Rivers. And they cut out the opening act completely.
All right.
Because they needed to bring two names in. So I was forced to go from the MGM Grand, which was completely professional, to, Ha-Ha's Comedy Club in Topeka, Kansas. And it was a nightmare. And I was on the road for, 20 years doing that, 10 years doing the other, and 20 years doing the comedy clubs, working with psychopaths and, and living in comedy condos. And oh, it was a nightmare. So I finally said, I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah,
I don't have to do it. So I took the time off and I started writing. And so I wrote for TV and I wrote 7 plays. And then I turned my writing to the books. And so I have this Memoir of a Nobody now. And I actually have 3 books. Memoir of a Nobody. The next book will be another Memoir of a Nobody, which is a continuation of different stories. And then a 3rd book called Take My Prostate, Please.
I love it. Do you, after all that though, I mean, is it still an art to you, stand up? Do you still
Well, it used to be an art.
Okay.
But what they're doing now is not an art. My cleaning woman can do 5 minutes. Do you know what I mean? It's like the stuff I see at the Comedy Store, it's really nauseating what's on stage today. And it's not that they're not funny. It's just that no one has a unique voice. No one is saying anything of import. And they all sound the same because they're all learning from each other.
Right.
And I can, instead of like when I started, I was learning from Jack Benny.
Sure.
And Red Skelton. Those were the people who I was watching. These young people, these kids today, they are learning by sitting in the back of the comedy club and watching the guy on stage. And it's all about the crotch and and relationships. And no one is saying anything funny. And everyone is saying stuff that sounds like it should be funny, and it's delivered like it is funny, and it's just not funny.
Yeah.
And so I used to be very proud to say I was a comedian, and now I say I'm a writer.
I got you.
Yeah.
I can see that. What was the kind of subject matter you were dealing with? Because I mean, if you're a working writer, but you're also traveling so much, I feel like, do you have to limit yourself in terms of what you're talking about?
Well,
I'm curious.
I had a unique take on it, is that I would get into a city and learn all about what was going on at the town at that time.
Yeah.
So I would tailor my act to that area, and I had stock pieces, and I would just change the names for the different cities, and that worked quite well for me.
Do you think, based on, if you were to get up on stage today, it doesn't sound like you want to, but if you were to, do you think you'd have something to say? Do you feel like you'd still?
Well, I was asked to do a show in Palm Springs, and it was a nightmare for me. It was because it was 120 degrees every day.
Yeah.
And I had forgotten so much of my material that I had to start all new. Yeah. And so what I would do is just go out on stage and start talking. And then finally I started developing this thing about my age and relating to what it was like when I was younger and what I'm doing now. And that seemed to work. And that could be a hook because no one is doing that. But the thought of getting on a plane and going, to yucks is just so unattractive to me.
I can only imagine. Like, there's a part, I've never done stand-up, but when I hear people talk about the travel, there's a part of it is a little romantic to me. But then again, also when you hear somebody say, yeah, I did that for 30 years, I whatever romance is probably gone.
And, and a lot of the comedy clubs are gone. And I would say 60% of the comics are working ships, cruise ships. And I tell you, quite frankly, I would rather be put to sleep to do that. My idea of being trapped in the middle of the ocean with an audience is my idea of hell. It's just hell.
Yeah.
And they treat when you worked in Vegas, you were treated with respect and with like you were important, and when you work on a cruise ship, you're treated a little less important than the luggage.
I can only imagine.
Oh, you can't. I actually had a friend of mine who's working ships tell me that Carnival Cruise Lines, Carnival, does not allow the comedians to bring a suitcase on the ship. And so they have to bring their clothes in a carry bag.
What?
Yeah. And the most demoralizing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I hope they're paying them a living.
No, they're not paying them a living.
Good
And
God.
It's if more people knew about the indignities that's the right word. Indignity that entertainers have to put up with, I think they would revolt.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, who came up with the idea that you can't bring a suitcase with you?
That's insane.
You're away for a week.
Of course. Yeah.
What are you supposed to perform in your pajamas?
Right. Right.
Stupid.
That's ridiculous. So going back to Betty Walker for a minute, I mean, I myself do love character work on stage. Is that something you ever toyed with at all?
All the time.
Yeah? Okay.
My style was I'd say it and then I'd do it.
Okay.
So there was a joke I had. I said, the strangest thing happened to me. I was driving down Laurel Canyon. There was a big sign on the side of the road that said lobster tails, 49 cents. So I gave the guy 49 cents, and he said to me, once upon a time, there were 2 lobsters. And so that's saying it and then doing it.
How have I never heard that joke before? I really like that joke. Are there any other comics you can think of that weren't the big stars like Jack Benny or Red Skelton, but more like a Betty Walker, who you're like, I only saw them a little bit, but they left this indelible imprint on me?
Not really,
No?
to tell you the truth. No, it was I was born in Boston, raised in the projects, and but I live in Bel Air now. And when I would see somebody, it would be on a TV, and they would always be a headliner. So that's
What did you draw from them? Because because there's a big leap from the time you're doing stand-up to the stuff you're talking about was your influence. Like you couldn't be Red Skelton on stage when you were doing stand-up. So I'm curious, like obviously there's a natural evolution, but is there ever a desire to be more like him? Or is it just like, no, this is an influence on me. I'm going to synthesize it into something that works for me.
Yeah, that's exactly the thing, because you can't, everything evolves.
Yeah.
And comedy has evolved. Unfortunately, instead of it becoming smarter, it's become stupider. These comedians, there are 2 kinds of comedians. There's the intrinsically funny comic who looks at, this is the best example. David Brenner was an intrinsically funny comedian. He was walking down the street in New York City, and a manhole blew up and went flying in the air. And David looked over and went, heads. That's a mind that sees something and then can turn it into a comedian, into a comic.
Yeah.
Then there's another kind of comedian who's learned that if you say 7 words in a row and you stop, the audience will laugh. Those are the technicians.
Yeah.
So there was a reason I was telling you this story, and now I can't remember.
Well, you were talking about it, that comedy's gotten dumber in general.
So what's happened is these technicians that really don't have a funny bone in their body have trouble getting laughs, and then they found out that penis jokes get big laughs and fart jokes get big laughs. And so their material started evolving around. And then instead of raising the level of the intelligence of the audience, what they did was they brought the audiences down to their level. And then as the comedy clubs became popular and then faded, as they faded, the club owners became desperate, right? And so instead of paying a good comic $1,000, they would bump up a mediocre comic to $500, who was making $200. So the whole level of comedy just began to slump. And there are a few standouts now. Bill Burr is great, and I love Chris Rock, and there's some wonderful comics coming up, but the ones in the clubs they're just awful.
Yeah. Do you go often
I
to
would
check it
rather
out?
have a root canal than spend an hour in a comedy club. I would say take my appendix out, no anesthesia, than sit in a comedy club.
Because it's not for you now.
It's not for me.
Yeah.
It's not for me. It was, I don't know if you know who Pat Proft is, but
I only know the name. I won't claim to recall who it is.
Pat wrote Airplane and
Sure.
all those Zucker films, and he was started at the Comedy Store with me in '72, and we've remained friends to this day. And he said to me the other day, "What we had in the '70s was magic," and when we were there, I would say to Pat all the time, we should be writing this down. We should be writing, because I knew that we were making history, but I didn't really know that it was going to be that monumental.
Sure.
And plus we were all involved in getting our own careers going. Of
course.
So we never thought that anything that we would be doing would be, and now we realize that it's so important, especially with shows like I'm Dying Up Here,
Yeah.
which are to the 70s in comedy, like what I am to Swan Lake. I mean, there is absolutely no relation with what they're writing and
Yeah.
what we experienced.
Yeah.
It's a travesty.
I've been wondering about that too, because I watched a bit of it and I'm like, this is an interesting take, but I know you've got to dramatize, but it's also funny to make a drama about comedy. But it's just, what are they getting most wrong? Things like that.
Mitzi.
Yeah.
Mitzi Shore.
Yeah.
The character and they're saying, well, it's not based on Mitzi. And then words that Mitzi had came out of her mouth are coming out of the character's mouth. It's not, she is so completely wrong that when I saw it, I shut the TV off. I said, I can't watch this.
Yeah.
I can't watch it. And I was interviewed for that book because it came from a book on that sofa right there. I was interviewed for it. And the book got it mostly right. He had to dramatize it. And so he created an arc with Steve Lubetkin's death and that being the driving force, which really wasn't the driving force.
Right.
Lubetkin was a disturbed person who killed himself because he was a disturbed person.
Yeah.
It wasn't because he wasn't getting times at the Comedy Store.
Right.
I mean, I would see Steve around town and he would say, I'm working on my film. And that went on for like 5 years. I'm working on my film every time I'd see him. And he would get more and more manic, So when I was in New York working at a club, and I heard on the news that a comic had jumped off the Hyatt, I called the Comedy Store and said, who was it? And they said, Steve Lubetkin. I went, oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
It wasn't a surprise.
Yeah.
Like when Freddie Prinze killed himself, that was a shock to me. I had spoken to him 2 weeks before.
Oof. Yeah.
And, and I knew he was depressed. He said to me, this is at the height of Chico and the Man. And I said, Freddie, what's the matter? Oh, Steve, I'm so depressed. Why? I don't know. I'm just, and so I was, and when Robin killed himself, that was a complete shock to me. I was on a plane going to New York and the plane landed. I turned on my phone. The first thing I saw was Robin Williams kills himself. And I just had to sit down.
Yeah.
I just had to sit down. Because I knew Robin and we worked together at the Comedy Store, and I just it just pained me. It pained me that someone that gifted would end it so.
Right. Are there people throughout those years that you met or ran across, dealt with, or just knew about who, in your opinion, should be more famous? Should be just a shit ton more famous?
Oh yeah, you want to see the list? It's written on
That's what I'm
toilet
wondering.
paper on my bathroom. Yeah, there's a female comic in San Francisco called Karen Babbitt, who was really bright, and there's of course, when you put me on the spot like
Of course, I know.
I can
know.
never remember.
I didn't know I was going to ask it either.
But Johnny Dark is a wonderful guy, and he's just never gotten the breaks. And he was on Letterman as the oldest page at CBS, wherever. And he had a reoccurring. But Johnny was a stand-up. He was a singer first, then became a comic when he started hanging out at the Comedy Store. And he's never really pushed, through to fame. Who else? Yeah, I can't think.
I'm just always curious because I know that if I asked anybody else who was like a peer of yours, they would probably have their own list too. And I'm always curious who
Oh
people
yeah,
pick,
if you had asked me before.
Yeah, if I had given you some time.
I would have written it down.
This is not on you. This was on me. It was just
right,
like,
cool.
this would be interesting. And then put the pressure on. Didn't mean to though. So we were talking earlier a little bit about we both know Rusty Warren, which is great. I like meeting people who know Rusty. Are there any? Have you ever gone out of your way? Because again, you started in comedy at a pretty good period where there's still some of those guys left who are still. You still could have talked to, like, I don't know when Red Skelton passed away, but Bob Hope's still around. Was there any classic person you got to meet, like a hero?
Oh yeah, Buddy Hackett.
Oh, great.
Buddy Hackett, Sandy Hackett, who's Buddy's son, is a friend of mine. And I was working in Vegas, and Buddy was working in Vegas. And Sandy said, "Come on, we're going to see my father." And I went, "Oh God, I don't want to go see. I don't want to go see his father." And he took me to the show, and his father was brilliant, and as contemporary as any comic working, any young 20-year-old comic working at the time. And I was so blown away and so thrilled to get to witness that. And so Sandy took me backstage, and we went into Buddy's dressing room, and Sandy said, "Tell the duck story." And in my book, Memoir of a Nobody, I tell the story about telling this story to Buddy Hackett and what happened and how hard he laughed. And he actually laughed so hard that he fell off the sofa. And that was like a magic moment for me.
Of course.
And another magic moment was when I was opening for Donna Summer. And this is at the height of her disco fame, the height. And after our first show, she came back to my dressing room, and she took both my hands, and she said, "I just want to tell you how happy we are that you're on the show with us." And it was the nicest gesture that's ever been done to me as an opening act.
Yeah.
It really...
No, that's pretty beautiful.
Pretty. And she was from Roxbury, Mass.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
I was from Chelsea, Mass.
Okay.
So we would laugh, and we're just a couple of kids from Boston having a good time in Vegas.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
That's nice. That's really good. How about, did you get to write for anybody that, like, maybe...
Well, I wrote for Joan Rivers.
Sure. Shoot.
And I wrote for Marilyn Michaels. And I wrote for Carol Hughes. The best joke, my most famous joke I wrote for Joan Rivers was, "Elizabeth Taylor's so fat, I took her to McDonald's, she got stuck in the arch."
Like, is that on one of the albums? Is that on her?
And she did it on The Tonight Show.
Oh, she did it on The Tonight Show. Okay. Yeah. Oh, because I know I've heard it. That's really...
Yeah. And then when she passed, the joke was quoted by Dick Cavett.
Really?
And I was just thrilled. It was like the highlight of my life.
Yeah.
To have Dick Cavett quote one of my jokes.
That's pretty great. Is it good enough to know that it's your joke? Because you obviously got paid for it, and it's also still being recognized. Is it okay that it's somebody else's joke for you?
I mean,
you don't care?
No, it's like you have a little baby and you put it up for adoption. Somebody picks it up, and
you're no less proud of the baby,
right? You're still a parent.
I'd never heard it put that way, but that's kind of perfect. That's really good. Do you have... I'm curious, because this comes up more and more for your own work. Like, have you archived your stuff? Like, is there a bunch of video and audio archives, your own writing, if you wrote much?
Well, video and audio, I had all... every time I did a TV show, I always got a tape of the show. And then, so I ended up with an office full of videotapes.
I bet, yeah.
And I said, I'm never going to look at these. So I donated them all to the museum, the television museum.
Oh, great.
So they're archived there. And the TV scripts that I wrote, I archived at the Writers Guild, at the Writers Guild Library. And in terms of archiving my own career, I did that in Memoir of a Nobody, available on Amazon.com.
Master of the plug.
Yes.
Should we pause for a second?
Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. Okay, so we're talking about archiving. Well, shit, I had a question for you, and then I just completely lost it. That's real good. Good interviewing. I got thrown by a phone. Let's see. Do you mind if I grab the album for a second? I want to take a look at it. Do you have, off of this album, off of Hello, Seal, It's Me, do you have a favorite bit? I mean, you quoted
the one I quoted about the wedding. That's the one that just made me howl. And, I've had comedians come over to the house, and I said, do you ever hear Betty Walker? And nobody's heard of it. And I would play that cut, and they would be screaming.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's so good. I'm curious in terms of, so growing up, we did talk briefly about the first family. I don't get to ask people too much about that. Actually, let's skip back a second before we get to that. What kind of comedy was in your house growing up?
None.
None. You just had access to TV.
My mother was... my mother was anti-show business, anti-funny.
Oh, no.
And in the 35 or 40 years that I did stand-up, never came to a single show.
Ugh. Woof.
And my parents were divorced. My father... Now, this is interesting. My father had a sense of humor, as did my uncles on my father's side and my cousins on my father's side. My mother's side it's just like a dust bowl there, and it's just nothing. But my family is from Russia, and they're from Odessa, my grandparents. So I have a Russian travel agent, and we were talking. I said, my family's from Russia. And he said, well, where are you from? And I said, well, they're from Odessa. And he said to me, well, then you must have a good sense of humor. And I said, why? He said, Odessans are known for their sense of humor.
Interesting.
And that they have a comedy festival in Odessa every year, and has been going on for decades.
Wow.
And I said, do you know what I do for a living? And he said, no. I said, I'm a comedian and a comedy writer. And he said, well, of course you are.
That's amazing.
Isn't it?
I want to go to a Russian comedy festival.
Oh,
Holy
yeah.
crap.
The borscht is so hot.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. I love hearing. I love the idea that this whole region is known for being funny too. That's the funniest thing to me. So no comedy in the household growing up. What? Why then? What were you so drawn to then?
Well, we were talking about intrinsically funny. I'm one of those intrinsically funny people that I just see stuff and it's funny to me. I find the funny in it. And if you look at my high school yearbook, it says to the funniest guy, to the guy who made me laugh. And I've always had that personality. And in college, I started developing these, because I went to Emerson College, and I was in the theater department, and I started developing these phone bits, these phone bits. And the premise being, what would it be like if there was a phone when the Bible was being written? And it would go something like this. Hello, Mrs. Christ. Yeah, this is Mr. Gopin from the Hebrew school. Listen, you're going to have to come and pick up Jesus. Well, he's been causing trouble in class. He's been walking on water. The other kids tried it. They drowned.
It's great, yeah.
So I was developing all this stuff. And I went to school with Henry Winkler.
Oh, okay.
And there was one night in particular, I remember Henry and I and a bunch of people were sitting at the Kappa sorority house. And there was an ironing board set up, and somebody put a flip-flop, a shoe on the ironing board. And Henry picked up the flip-flop and threw it to me, and he said, do something with this. And I improvised 20 minutes with the flip-flop.
Oh, my God.
And Henry looked at me and he said, that's a gift. He said, that's a gift.
Yeah.
And, it's, but, the psychological damage that had been done to me as a child was so deep that even with the gift, it was hard to, to understand. When I get people calling me up and says, your book, your memoir of a nobody, it's so funny. I look at them and I said, what do you mean? I don't understand. Why is it funny? And then somebody explained to me, he said, because it's my story and I've read them so many times, it's no longer funny to me. But to someone who's reading it for the first time, it's refreshing and fun. Now, you've read part of it.
Yes, yeah.
Did you laugh?
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you laugh at?
It's probably, I feel like it's, because the problem is I have a dark sense of humor. So I feel like anything that was a little bit on the dark side is what makes me.
Doesn't matter.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But did you laugh? Did you get to take the 3-parter about going to Paris and losing my tooth? No.
Wait a minute. I don't think so.
All right.
I apologize.
Did you get to the one about taking my mother to Australia?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. That's an absolute true story.
That's hilarious.
It's an absolute verbatim, as it happens, point by point story.
My God. Yeah. See, well, I mean, that could be part of it too, though. I mean, if you have that good of recall of something like that, I don't know.
And what's so funny is that I am having trouble recalling things like where my keys are. On my tombstone, is going to say, "Where's my phone?" And I went to Ralph's 2 weeks ago, and I went to a parking space. The car wasn't there, and I completely freaked out. Ran upstairs, and my car's been stolen. And he said, "No, it's not." I said, "Yes, it's." And he said, "Show me." And I took him down. He said, "My car was right here." And he takes his phone out and he says, "Is this your car?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "It's upstairs. You're on the wrong level."
No.
But there are certain things that the details are so drilled in to my memory that there's a story in the book, Memoir of a Nobody, that I was so small that the light switch was way above my head. And I remember I can see it as I'm sitting here talking to you, see myself in diapers, sitting on a phone book, eating Cheerios at the table with my parents fighting in the background.
Yeah.
I can see it in my head.
Yeah.
It was so burned into I actually wrote in the book that I could remember the first day that I could remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
I woke up one day and went, "Oh, wait a minute, that was a yesterday."
Holy crap. Yeah.
Yeah, I remembered that feeling. It was amazing.
Those kind of things, I don't know how common they are with comics, but I mean, I'm a comedy writer, and I've got some fair recall of some very early things too. And I feel like that stuff is critical to a lot of things, but one of them is empathy. And I think being a good comedy writer involves at least having empathy. Even if you don't write in an empathetic way, you have to understand other people and assume they feel the same way and have had similar experiences.
Well, that's deep. There's a fine line, because in my stand-up, I would talk to the audience because I did it because I got so bored about saying the same things over and over and over again that I would say the things over and over again. Then I would stop and I would just visit with the audience and just improvise for 20 minutes in the middle of the set. But there were rules that I knew that you couldn't. Cancer is not. Someone, what do you do? I work at a cancer institute. Okay, and what do you do? You just don't mind those areas because there's nothing funny about that. This is a true story. I once was working at a club, and there was a blind guy with a seeing eye dog sitting on the ring. Right? I mean, I was on stage, and he was right there.
Right there, yeah.
And I'm starting my act, and I'm talking, and "You suck!"
Oh, God.
And I did one, get your seeing eye dog and get the fuck. Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. You can swear.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
The audience turned like they were on a turntable.
Of course they did. Of course they did.
And it was the worst. It actually ended up so bad that we had to have a police escort to get out of town.
Jeez.
That's how bad it was.
Wow.
Yeah, my friend, my producer Gary Bernstein, happened to have come up to the show, and when I got off stage, he said, "We got to get out of here." I said, "Why?" He said, "The police are here. There's a threat against your life." And the police car followed us right out to the edge of town.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
boy.
why I don't do comedy anymore.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah. Now you've turned me off of even trying. That's a lie. I would
So
never even
who
try.
do you write comedy for?
I write comedy for myself. I don't write it for anybody that I know. I make my own stuff. I've been making movies and short films and sketch comedy albums for 15 plus years now.
You should go to Fred Willard's sketch workshop.
I would love to do that just to meet Fred Willard, but yeah, I would love to do that.
Yeah,
That's
it's
not a bad
Monday
idea.
nights.
Yeah?
Yeah, I just brought somebody else in, and Mary, who's runs the class, is a good friend, and I'll just make a phone call.
Yeah? That'd be amazing.
But you have to bring sketches in that you
Okay. I've got a ton. I do have a ton sitting around. Working on a comedy album now. I'll advertise that at the end because it doesn't have a name yet. That's not true, but we're promoting your thing.
Right.
Until
What are we
the very
promoting?
tail end. I think it's a book.
called Memoir of a Nobody.
I think that's what it's called.
Available on Amazon.com, ebooks, iBooks.
Wait, is there an audiobook?
There isn't an audio
What?
book yet.
You
Yeah.
have a voice for it. You have the voice for it.
I know, but I'm dyslexic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so for me to read my own book
Would take a while.
about 6.5 years.
I gotcha.
But I'd give it the old college try.
You should. I feel like you've got, like I say, you've got the pipes built for that kind of close-up listening.
I'm Emerson trained.
Emerson, by the way, the only college I think still that has a comedy degree now. I mean, you can get a comedy degree from Emerson.
I know.
I'm assuming that's post when you graduated.
Post
but,
when I was graduating. They actually have a campus here in Los Angeles.
oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. Have you ever drive down Sunset Boulevard? Did you see that big building that's looks like a big open square in the middle?
Yeah,
That looks like a table. That's Emerson.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I should know that because I know a lot of Emerson people. That's interesting. That's great. I mean, like I said,
It's the Emerson Mafia. It's the Emerson Mafia, yeah.
there's so many people I keep meeting. I'm like, well, I guess that honestly should have been where I went to school. Cause
Well, and there's a story in my book called Memoirs of a Nobody that we're trying to get the name in 25 times.
we're almost there.
We're almost there. About my applying to Emerson and what my mother did to make sure I didn't get into Emerson.
Oh boy. All right. That's
But I got in despite her efforts.
good. That's a good thing. Was there at the time what'd you go there for? What was the degree you were pursuing?
My freshman year, I went to University of Miami and absolutely hated it. Hated it.
Yeah.
Hated Miami, hated the humidity, hated the school. It was too big. So I wanted to go to a smaller school. So I applied to Emerson, and I was in the theater department.
Okay. Yeah. Did you look back, or what's your theater experience? Did you do theater before stand up? I'm curious
I
what the
did
evolution
theater
was.
before stand-up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it
I didn't do stand-up until 1972.
72? Right.
I had never
Yeah.
gotten on stage to do a stand-up before.
Was it an open mic? I assume, or what?
No, it was different back then.
Okay.
In 1972, when you went to the Comedy Store, Sammy Shore was running the Comedy Store, and everybody just hung out.
Okay.
And when I say hung out, it was Barry Levinson, Craig T. Nelson, Jack Riley, Flip Wilson, Red Fox.
Holy shit.
And they would just all hang out there. Chuck McCann, Pat McCormick.
Jesus.
Everyone was hanging out at the back of the bar, and Sammy would say, "Okay, you go up,"
Holy crap.
and then you go up,
Oh my God.
and that's how it went.
Wow.
And so one night, Sammy said, "You go up," and it was me, and I went up on stage and, "Hello, Mrs. Christ," and they got huge laughs. And Sammy came up to me afterwards, and he said, "You keep coming back. You keep coming back. You've got the sound. You have the sound." And I did. I came back every night.
That's nuts. So I love that a bit that's pretty Betty Walker of you got you.
Oh, that's pretty.
That's great.
Yeah, I never even thought of that.
That's phenomenal. That's
Yeah.
so good. I mean, I just love that it did have, because normally it's it's a boring question that I've actually stopped asking. It's like, well, can you really feel, well, like what specifically has influenced you about it? And normally it's like, I don't know. But here, like, it's a pretty clear
Well,
influence.
I didn't know until we just
we just
discussed
talked about it.
We talked about it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until Mitzi took over the Comedy Store that it became what it is today.
Okay.
Because Mitzi insisted on scheduling the comics.
Oh, sure.
And then Mitzi put out the light to tell the comics when to get off. And Mitzi painted the club black. And Mitzi merchandised it. And it was Jimmy Walker that actually put the club on the map. Because at that point, Jimmy was on Good Times.
Yeah.
And he had a contract with Tandem that they would write material for his stand-up.
Okay.
And so Jimmy would come to the club every night after shooting all day.
All right.
And word got out that Jimmy Walker was at the club.
Sure.
And it was packed every night. Wow. And that turned the club around.
That's nuts.
That turned the club. Jimmy Walker and Richard Pryor turned the club around.
Shit. That's so good. It's interesting too that that stand up just turns on a dime by a woman and two black guys, and it's just so it's not spoken of enough. It's just like, oh no, the club changed everything, let's move on. But no, it's clearly like these three people.
No, it's absolute.
So
great.
great.
And there's always been this I don't want to say animosity, but it's when two people butt heads, what would you call that?
Antagonism.
Yeah, between Bud Friedman of the Improv and Mitzi Shore of the Comedy Store.
Sure.
Now, there's no doubt that Bud Friedman had the very first club in America, the Improv in New York City.
Yep.
Because I was at that club in 1968. I went and I saw Robert Klein, and I saw I can't think of the. I saw them all, all those New York comics. So Bud had the first, but that club was structured. It was in the theater district, and after the shows, the kids from the show would come to the Improv, and they would sing and they would dance, and and a comedian would come on. It was more like variety.
Sure.
The Comedy Store was the first club that was exclusively comedy and was called a comedy club.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's where the friction comes.
I get that, but it's these are good things to be recognized. I mean, yeah, a dedicated club, and then like you say, a woman who knows, oh no, has to be a business. This can't just be a hangout.
Right. It has to be a bit. Now, here's something else interesting that nobody knows. The very first club outside of Los Angeles, very first comedy club outside, was in La Jolla. Mitzi opened a club called the Comedy Store in La Jolla, and it's still there today.
Okay.
She wasn't sure that the club would succeed, so she bought a condo so that the comedians could stay at the condo, and she wouldn't have to pay for hotels for them. So, to this day, whatever crap hole you stay at on the road, it's called the condo.
Yeah, right.
The
Okay,
comedy
I didn't know
condo.
that had anything to do with that. That's fascinating. Good God, that's crazy. Does it? Well, you already said you kind of recognized it at the time. Does it feel good that you were a part of it?
Yeah, like Pat said, it was a magical time.
Yeah.
It was a magical time. I mean, I have memories of hanging out with Chuck McCann, you know, and one night this woman comes up to Chuck and she says, "Would you like to go back to my house?" And Chuck says, "Sure." And he runs over to me and he says, "You got to come with me. This woman wants it." So I went with Chuck and Charlie. Oh God, I know his name like I know my own. He was Roger Rabbit.
Charles Fleischer.
Charles Fleischer.
Yeah.
Charlie Fleischer. We both went, and we're sitting at the table with this woman, and she said, "Do you notice anything different about me?" And we said, "No," and she said, "I only had half a facelift." And then we looked at it, and one half of her face was 20 years old, and the other half of her face was like this old grandmother. And I turned to Charlie, and I said, "This is the strangest fucking thing I've ever."
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to do this before we close out with some promotion stuff. So, if you're going to recommend why to hunt down this album and listen to it, and we can pretty much bet that people haven't heard of Betty Walker, not that many people. What's a good reason to listen to this album?
Well, if you like to laugh, if you're from New York, and if you're Jewish. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the three requirements to because Betty Walker is every Jewish mother from New York.
Yeah.
But her themes are universal.
Absolutely.
And it's just a funny album. Mm-hmm. It's just really, really funny.
Yeah, that's easy enough. There's no higher recommendation for me. So one more time, what's the name of that book?
Oh, we're gonna push my book.
Yeah, if that's okay. If you don't mind.
I feel so funny doing this, but the name of the book is Memoir of a Nobody by Steve Bluestein, and it's available at Amazon.com, Nook, Barnes & Noble, iBooks, eBooks, and soon Kindle.
Awesome. Wonderful. And then in about 6 years after you're done reading it, the audiobook. We've established that.
Right, and then the audiobook someday. And I'll come to your house and read it to you.
Good. You should make that an option. You just have people donate online, and you donate enough money.
Right.
Steve will fly out to you.
I'll fly out to you. I guess I just learned today that I'm going to do a book tour.
Yes.
Starting in Washington, D.C., going to New York City, and then Boston.
That's awesome.
In September, October. So watch out for me.
That's fun. That's great. So will you be doing a reading, I assume? Or
readings and book signings and you know.
That's great.
Selling my jams and jams and jellies.
Oh my God, you should. That would be amazing. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's really been a joy.
You're welcome back anytime, and I won't screw it up next time.
You didn't screw it up.
Turns out it's an album I love, so I love that we got to talk about it. It's great.
And I have lots of albums we can talk about.
I cannot wait. And then I'll just tell everybody, check out Instagram. I'm on Instagram at Jason Klamm. I'm talking about all of my extra work over the years because that's fun. And then go to bit.ly/comedy albums to find Celery Sound Records, which is my small sketch comedy record label. Interestingly enough, our first re-release from 1961 is actually going to be a stand-up album, but it's going to be very great, and you'll enjoy that.
Okay, I'd like you to do that again.
Yes.
But I want you to slow down.
I'm so bad at slowing down.
You have to slow down. What do you think? People are in their car. You think they're going to pull over and drive?
I hope so.
So what was that website again?
If you go to bit.ly/comedy albums.
All right.
Yes.
So it's bit.ly
comedy albums.
Comedy albums.
Yes. That's correct.
.com?
Nope, that's it. Bit.ly is a URL shortener, so it's the quickest way to get to my website. Yes, so it's stupid. I really should have just bought the domain name, which will happen shortly.
Oh, when I had my website, which is stevebluestein.net. I wanted stevebluestein.com. Of
course, sure.
But somebody had bought it and tried to sell it to me for $10,000.
Of course they did.
And I said to them, you know what? Enjoy it.
That's right. Yeah. What are you going to put up there? Good. Go ahead. Have fun.
Now, do you know that there's another Steve Bluestein in San Francisco? And he has the same birthday as me.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is all the other Jason Klamms, who actually pronounce it Klamm, of all of them that I've found, about 3 of them are almost exactly my same age.
Really?
It's very weird. A bunch of us were born the same year. It's very strange. Well, that's about it. Thank you guys for listening. And as always, have a good thing. Comedy on Vinyl is a production of StolenDress Entertainment. It is produced by Mike Warden and is hosted and edited by Jason Klamm. Our theme song was composed and performed by Richard Levinson. Please visit StolenDress.com to listen to our other podcasts, read our blogs, read our tweets, watch our videos, and read our books. Please subscribe on iTunes, and if you like us, give us a 5-star rating and a nice review. You can find us on Facebook.com/ComedyOnVinyl, Twitter @ComedyOnVinyl, and find everything else at ComedyOnVinyl.com. A major portion of Comedy on Vinyl has been underwritten by Stand Up Records. Please visit StandUpRecords.com for all your comedy needs and tune into the new Stand Up channel available on the Roku, where you can also find select episodes of this podcast.